Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, I'm Sammi-Jo. My friends call me SJ, which is a strange coincidence because this is a collaboration with the wonderful SJ Strum. She is one of the most kind, just really vibey soul. She's just got a really good energy about her. I've met her a few times. I've known her for quite a few years through the blogging, sort of Instagramming, networking. Been to a few events with her and I always love catching up with her. Now this video is going to be on how to raise a happy child, or how to raise happy children. Hopefully you've come over from SJ's video on how to raise self-esteem and confidence within children. I really hope you enjoyed that. I know you will have, because she has loads of videos on stuff like that and she's just really good and just really nice, lovely mummy. Now we have quite a lot of similar views in how to raise children. A bit about me if you're new around here. So I worked in the NHS for 10 years in different realms of psychology. But my sort of bag really was attachment. I loved attachment, so I could work with any sort of age group with attachment. I love how you can create a bond. So hello, if you are from SJ's video, you'll notice I talk a lot. If you like chatty vlogs, how-to vlogs, anything to do about parenting, self-care, well-being, then please do consider subscribing if you enjoy this video and give it a thumbs up. I'd love to have you here. As parents, we all want to raise happy children. We want our children to be happy, content, successful in life as a person. Now successful means different things to different people, but for me it's about them going out into the world and being happy and content within a sort of values-based approach. So making sure that their morals and their values are right, and whatever they do within that is completely up to them. They could be anything they want, but as long as they are happy. So everybody says this, but what does it mean to actually raise a happy child? And how do you know that your child is happy? So first of all, everything that I do is based within an attachment-based parenting model. So that means that I do everything with love, with connection, thoughtfulness, and just making them feel valued as an individual, as a person. And I think that's really important, especially if you've got multiple children, because you can't just have one approach and it work for everyone. I've got 3 children, so I've got a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a baby nearly 9 months old now. So each of my approaches is completely different and I find like a connection with each of them. Number one, I would say that you need to set your own emotion thermometer. So what I mean by that is check in with yourself, see how you're doing, because ultimately if we expect our children to feel in a certain way, then we need to be emotionally safe and sound first. So if we're their thermometer, they will vibe off us. You all know what it feels like if you, I don't know, like walk into a room like and you get that energy that someone's like in a bad mood, or if I don't know, I can sense when people have like had an argument because it's their body language, just the air almost feels charged with something. So you need to prioritize your happiness because it's contagious. So the first thing that you need to do is recognize how you are being and what your temperature is. If you're on boiling hot and you're ready to explode, then how to bring that down is by doing some self-care. Now I've got lots of other videos on self-care, but really easy ones to do are square breathing. So breathing in for 4, holding for 4, breathing out for 4, holding for 4, and repeat like that. And just imagine you're going down, across and up like that. And that's just a really simple breathing technique that can help ground you. Also mindfulness techniques, they're brilliant. I love mindfulness stuff, and you can do it in everyday settings. Basic things like having a cup of tea, making sure you're drinking so much water, but then trying to have some time to just sit down and go through your thoughts and sort of sort the mess from the good stuff that you need to focus on. But yeah, there's loads of other videos I've got on self-care, and so go and have a look at them after this one. So number 2 is to respect their emotions. So in our house, we talk about our emotions every day. We talk about them as normal life. They're part of us. There are no real negative emotions and positive emotions, even though that's the way that they're described in our sort of vocabulary in our society. It's more that emotions are just emotions, and that they come and they go, and they can be big sometimes and they can be little sometimes, and trying to describe that to your child like as in an age appropriate way. So for my 3-year-old at the minute, she's experiencing a lot of frustration as she's trying to test boundaries and see where her limits are and what's expected of her and what the world is like, and it's just that constant battle. Like with 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, it's like, can I do this? Can I do a bit more? It's that constant testing all the time, and it's really exhausting sometimes. So that's why I always say the step 1 is the first bit. You need to look after yourself to be able to then manage all the sort of jumbly stuff. Yeah, so when we talk about emotions, if they're like having I don't know, a tantrum, a paddy, just really like frustrated, then we talk about that, and I try and do like, it's almost like a 3-step thing of, you need to listen to what they say, you need to acknowledge what they're saying and validate it in some way. So if my 3-year-old comes over and she can't verbalize really what she's saying because she's just so upset, then I'll sort of pick her up, put her on my knee, or come down to her level, so you're on the same level. There's something really connected if you are face to face like this, as opposed to like that dominating sort of I'm your parent sort of way. Yeah, so just recognizing their emotion as emotion that it comes and goes. You can talk about it in terms of like colors of the rainbow, so like sometimes the rainbow might have more red on it than others. The happy might be the yellow bit, the sad might be the blue bit. You just try and get them to connect it with something and visualize it, because sometimes internalizing it isn't helpful for the child. Again, you've just got to learn what's right for them, and some things will work sometimes and sometimes they won't. Recognizing and validating and talking about emotions is such an important part of them to then become happy and well-rounded children. Now when I think about my children, I try and think of them as every day is like a new day, and some people talk about this filling this emotional bucket. Now if you can run with that concept, or think about them as they are an empty battery at the beginning of the day, and you sort of have to charge that battery up so that they can work as efficiently as possible, and see contact, so like physical touch, emotional validation, all that stuff as charging that battery up for them to be happy. One thing that I always say is that ironically there isn't a video in the world, or there isn't a parenting style in the world that will give you children who are happy 100% of the time, and that is not the aim. The aim is to have a variety of emotions so that you can manage life and navigate life successfully, and be able to, you know, have different experiences and still be okay with that if the outcome is that you feel sad at the end of it or angry at the end of it. Be able to manage those emotions. Being happy isn't like this euphoric feeling, it's about just having these mix of emotions but being able to manage them. Now number 3 is a massive one within attachment parenting, is touch. So like I was saying about that emotional battery, you need to almost imagine this like touch. I'm always trying to like touch the hair or stroke their face or their neck, or just like a hand on them, dancing, cuddling, asking them for a hug, because ultimately you want to raise them with the idea that they can say no if they don't want to hug at that moment. Because imagine if somebody was just coming up to you all the time and just saying, give me a hug now. I'd be like, no. So just thinking as that physical touch as like an emotional charge, and that's something that really helps me to sort of fill their batteries and fill their emotional buckets, and is just really grounded in sort of attachment parenting. Physical touch is really important, especially with babies. Like I carry my babies, I breastfeed them. but that doesn't mean that you have to do those things to get a secure attachment. You can get attachment in lots of different ways, so I don't want you thinking that if you've not done those things or you don't do those things that it's wrong or it can't be grounded in attachment. There's lots of other ways that you can do that. Number 4 to make happy children is to make them feel valued and loved. Now, a saying which I have no idea where it comes from, so if you do know, let me know, but it was something when I first started training years and years and years ago. I think it was in my undergrad actually. That was about trying to raise like emotionally healthy children, is about make your children feel that they are the centre of your world, but don't make them feel like the world revolves around them. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because you want your children to feel that they are the most important thing in your life and that you do anything for them, but then you don't want them to feel that the world revolves around them. Does that make sense? But that they're valued, they're important, but that actually there is a responsibility to be loving and caring to others as well. So the last one I'm going to talk about that will help you raise a happy child and help you set that emotional thermometer is mindfulness. So again, I spoke a little bit about this before, but mindfulness is to do about having the ability to be in the present moment non-judgmentally. So I practice this a lot with the children if they are upset, angry, frustrated, having a paddy tantrum, whatever you want to call it, and I try and just sit with them, hug them, ask them if they want a hug. And I try and do that sort of 3-step thing that I was talking about before, which again, I have no idea whether I've made this up or I've read it somewhere. But that listen, acknowledge and validate. I think it's really important with children that you sit and listen to them, and then you acknowledge what they're saying and you validate it in whatever way that you want to validate it. So by listening to a child, you're telling them that you're there for them, non-judgmentally, you're in that moment with them. And sometimes it might be hard for you to try and empathise with what they're saying, because it might be something trivial to you, but to them, in that minute, it is so emotional that they need that recognition. So they need that listening ear, and then your ability to sort of frame it for them. I do this in other ways as well. So instead of saying like don't be angry, or like don't cry, or I don't know what you're being so upset about, I mean, these are all things that I've heard people say. Instead I'll say like, I understand that that's sad, that you're feeling sad, like, oh, that's such a big emotion. I tell them how they're feeling if they've not got those words. So if she's feeling frustrated or angry or sad or happy or whatever those are, I don't just do it with sad emotions or what would be seen as framed under negative emotions. I do it with positive emotions as well. So they've all got the language, because part of recognizing emotions is about having the language. It's really important to frame that, and to raise happy children is for them to acknowledge all types of emotion. I promise that if you do these things or implement these things, you will notice a difference in your children. I am not perfect, and I say this probably in every other video, but this is what I aim to do with my kids, because ultimately they are sponges and they're soaking up everything that we see and do. I'm a great believer in that they do as you do, not as you say. So if you are being kind and helpful and thoughtful and doing things with compassion and empathy to your neighbours, to your parents, to your friends, then they will model that. It goes to the same with your partners, how you talk over text, if you're reading text messages out to your partner, or if you're talking about somebody's social media posts or anything like that, then you have to do it in a way that you want your children to behave or react in the future, because ultimately they will do as you do. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please do subscribe and give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much to SJ for this collaboration. I can hear my children playing outside on their bikes, so I think it's time for me to go, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Take care, loves. Bye.